All right. I think it's recording. I think we're rolling. So, sorry, excuse me. I think we're going to get started. Welcome, welcome. We're going to start getting into the math here for advanced algebra with financial applications. And you know me, I'm Mr. Salt. All right, so we're going to jump into this. So about my display's about to go kind of messy as I get this up here. Ready? Hold on now. It's going to be technical magic going on. Whoa! All right, there we go. So if I've done this correctly, what you should see right now is you should see Advanced Algebra with Financial Applications, Unit 1, Wages, Lesson 1, Looking for Employment up on your screen. All right. This is what a lot of the lessons when I design them will look like. You have your vocabulary right here. Let's see. Let's start with the learning targets. Learning target number one. Now, remember, this Google form, it may look a little long, so don't get worried. If this Google form looks a little long, it's because this Google form will represent multiple days of instruction, right? We might go 3 or 4, like a whole week, with just this one Google form. Usually I plan on 2 to 3 days, and that's kind of what I shoot for, but these can last up to 4 or 5 days too. So, learning target number one. I can compute periodic salary based on an annual contract. So right there, I can compute periodic salary based on an annual contract. And then we have our second learning target. I can express classified ads as piecewise functions, right? I can basically you'll be able to express job wanted classified ads as a piecewise function. Okay. Employment vocabulary. Vocabulary phrase number one, employment agency. An employment agency, maybe you guys are familiar with these. If you are having trouble finding work and you just need a job, then sometimes a fast, easy way to just get a job, any job, is to go to an employment agency. They're going to set you down like a job interview. They're going to talk about what kind of skills you have and what kind of history and work experiences you have, and then they're just going to find you a job. They're going to go out. It's going to be their job to go out and find you a job. Now, why would they do this, you might ask? Well, because they're going to want to cut. And we're going to talk about that. They're going to want a little bit. They're going to want you to pay them a little bit of money for finding you a job. All right. So we'll talk about fee paid. Actually, I think I'm going to talk about this later. Fee paid. We'll actually talk about resume. I'll do now. A resume is like it's really a resume is an advertisement about yourself. It's usually a piece of paper that you take to a job interview when the job interviews get a little fancier than just a job application. That has all your work experience, all your education, where you've gone to school, what kind of grades you've had. It gives the employer a quick one sheet about who you are as an employee so that they can easily make a decision about whether to hire you or not. Form W-4, Employees Withholding Allowance Certificate. When you apply for a job, if you get the job, there'll be a time when they'll have you sign a W-4, which gives the employer permission to withhold some of your paycheck for taxes later. And we'll talk about more about taxes in the future. Let's see, benefits. Anything like health insurance, dental insurance, vacation time, all of these things are included as benefits and can be included as part of your total compensation. And discounts when something is priced lower than it normally would be. That would be a discount. All right, here are our learning standards if you care. I'm not going to read these, but just know that I like to put the learning standards here. And then here are some topics for Unit 1. So this isn't necessarily in all this lesson, but in this unit, we'll talk about these. And just when I clicked on that, it made me realize I want to actually go and look at this actually the way you're looking at this. So this is what you'll see. Okay, so you'll see math topics for this unit. This is our plan of study, right? If we keep going with these lessons that I'm designing, we would do Unit 1 is wages, so this lesson is just looking for employment. The next lesson, after we get done with this, maybe week 2, would be pay periods and hourly rates of pay, and then we'll talk about commissions and piecework and so on. And then here are all the different units we would do, so you get a kind of an idea of what we're doing in the future. I try to make these pretty standard, so every time you get a lesson, it'll kind of look like this. So here's a little introduction, and yeah, maybe I'll read this. Introduction to Advanced Algebra with Financial Applications. Hello out there and welcome to Advanced Algebra with Financial Applications. Mr. K and Mr. Salt are your guides to the world of mathematics with financial applications this year. Many students have told me, Mr. Salt, that this was actually their favorite math class because in this class is where many of the things they previously learned in other classes, like Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry, they started to make sense because you could finally see how you were going to use this math in a real-life situation with a dollar sign attached. Sorry, I went off script. I'm not going to read the rest of it. I'm going to let you go. This is just an introduction to this. So you're going to put your name in here. Your name will go here. Your name. All right, whatever your name is, you'll type that in there. And every one of these will have your name on it. I'll even throw you a bone and 2 points for putting your name down. What's the learning target? Well, how do you find the learning targets? Well, they'll always be up at the top here, right? There's the learning targets. You can just copy and paste those learning targets down over here. Boom, and you got that done. Why do I do this? It's because I want you to actually look at these learning targets. Because knowing what you're expected to learn for a lesson is very helpful. Knowing what you're supposed to expect can be very helpful for you to know what you should be paying attention to so you can know what you should be learning, right? So if you know you're on track. Why we're doing this. So moving on to the next one. Why we're doing this? Because it's important. This unit is all about wages. And it's important to be able to understand what your paycheck is saying. It's important to understand how much you're being paid, how much you're being taxed, and what's going on. It's important to pay attention to this paycheck. Here's an example of a young lady who, she's a bartender in Texas, and she got she worked 70 hours. Look at this. She worked almost 71 hours, and she got paid for that total 71 hours she worked, $9.28. How can that be, can you say? It's because she's a bartender, which means she doesn't need to get paid even minimum wage. So she gets paid less than minimum wage. And I'm sure she has some kind of benefits or something that's being deducted out of her paycheck. So, she only got, for working almost 2 weeks, this probably represents 2 weeks of work. And she's going to kind of explain about this and kind of complain about this a little bit, rightly. Of course, she gets tips, and she'll explain that she gets tips, and she didn't make bad money when you include her tips. But this should not happen, right? Not in any fair or real world. Somebody work 70 hours and only get paid $9.28? There's something wrong with this situation. I'll let you watch the video. So we have 2 warm-up questions here. The first one is, your friend Juan gets paid $16 per hour at Walmart. If Juan works an 8 hours for a shift, what would be Juan's gross wages for a shift? So maybe you want to pause this video now, reread this question for yourself, and see if you can answer it. All right. I'm going to stop talking for a minute while you pause. Great. I'm glad you paused me, and then you thought about it, and then you wrote your answer down, because that's going to help you actually answer these, because it's going to give you that time to think. So what I'm hoping you were thinking is that you said, okay, he's making $16 per hour, and he works 8 hours per shift. So he's going to make 16. So there's a couple ways we can think of this. We could think of this as 16. So 16 plus 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 16. Woo, that's a lot of adding 16 together. We need to add 16 together 8 times. Well, instead of adding 16 together 8 times, we could use another operation called multiplication, right? Instead of doing 16 added together 8 times, we could just say 16 times 8, right? And geez, I don't even think I want to do this in my head. I'm going to go with the calculator. Alexa, what's 16 times 8? Alexa, what's 16 times 8? Oh, Alexa, what's 16 times 8?
16 times 8 is 128.
Thank you. All right. I don't know why she couldn't hear me those first 2 times. All right. So 128. So if Juan is getting paid $16 an hour and he works 8 hours for a shift, then his gross wages for a shift is going to be $228. 16 times 8. All right, next one. Your friend Juan gets paid $16 an hour at Walmart. If Juan works 8 hours for a shift, and if Juan works 5 days per week, what would Juan's gross wages be for each week? Pause it now, give it a shot. Great, I'm glad you paused and gave it a shot, because this is what's going to help. If you don't pause it, and you just wait for me to say something or say what it is, then you're not going to learn as much because you didn't actually think about it for yourself, right? In fact, I'm going to do what I always occasionally do. I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to have you figure this one out, right? I did one, you can do one. I think you can handle this. You got this. All right. Let's see. How do people in different stages of their careers find employment? So I'm not going to read all of this, but you can read this little text here about how people in different stages of their careers can find employment if you're interested. This is about the connections to like the real world. You don't really need this information per se for like the math and the lessons we're doing. This is just for your background knowledge and the real world. All right. So example number 1, and this is kind of how we'll do things, is that we'll have an example. It's a worked example. So I give you a problem, there's going to be a solution, and then that'll help you solve questions like it, after this. So the example is that how to find a weekly salary from a yearly salary. So Julianne found a job listed in a classified ad that pays a yearly salary of $41K. What's $41K mean? $41K means 41,000, right? This K stands for 1,000. What is the weekly salary based on this annual salary? All right, so the solution is already here. Julianne has to interpret 41K. The K stands for 1,000, so Julianne's going to multiply the 41 by 1,000 to compute the annual salary. So she's going to put 41 times 1,000 into her calculator, which gives her 41,000. So the annual salary for Julianne here is 41,000. So now 41,000 is how much she makes per year. She makes $41,000 per year. And now we want to find out how much she make then per week, right? Because the question says, what is the weekly salary based on the annual salary? Well, to compute the weekly salary, we have to know something. We have to know that every year, inside every year is 52 weeks, right? 52 weeks in every year. That's just something that the Regents is going to expect you to know. That's one of those things you kind of have to put into your memory and have memorized. That there are 52 weeks in every year, there are 12 months in every year, and there are approximately 365 days per year. But if some of you will tell me, but Mr. Soule, there's 366 on leap years. Yes, okay. Okay, she makes $41,000 per year. We know there's 52 weeks in a year. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that 41,000 and we're going to divide by 52. Right? When we put that in our calculator, we get 788.46. So she makes approximately $788.46 per week. So that's the problem. Here's how to arrive at the solution. And here's one that's going to be very similar to that. I want you to find the monthly pay because you know that there are 12 months in a year. All right, I actually have to go to my next class, so I'm stopping this video here. Thanks for joining me, and I'll put more videos up.